welcome everyone. Today I'll be talking about curses and stones, the Gadhegals from Maharashtra. So Amrita has already given you a short information as to what exactly they are. I'll be discussing about them. So to start off with, as we know that the land of Maharashtra is quite rich when it comes to stories set in stones, as evidenced by the extant remains of cave complexes of different dynasties and faiths, or the temples with exquisite artworks, the exceptional sculptures, and the age-old petroglyphs, the menhirs and stone circles, etc., of Iron Age and the forts of land and the sea alike. So add to this the wealth of inscriptional data that is available on stones as well as metals like copper plates and even coins. Right from the prehistoric period till date, Maharashtra's past has seen a continuous occupation, and it can be gathered through this archaeological and historical trove of curiosities. Today's subject, Gadhegals, deals with one such unique aspect of mostly medieval Maharashtra, starting with the 9th, 10th century till way into the 16th century AD. There were four major interesting corpus of steles, that is mostly standalone stones that were issued in Maharashtra during this period, namely the hero stones, then Sati stones, Gaivastra stones, and the Gadhegals. The maps that I have displayed here gave us a little insight into the administrative units and the area under control by dynasties such as the Shilaharas and the Yadavas, among others, who ruled during this period and issued these stones in comparison to the administrative division map of Maharashtra, basically modern Maharashtra, as compared to the medieval period Maharashtra. Now, moving forward, the four steles that with or without inscriptions that I mentioned, Virgar, that is hero stones, the Gaivastra stones, that is Savatsadhenugar, then Sati stones, that is Satigar, and Gadhegals, that is Askar stones. They provide us with a rare perspective of their period of issuance, as well as how they are treated and understood in the modern day. I will explain them one by one. Sadly, almost many hero stones, Sati stones, and Gaivastra stones that were issued in Maharashtra are sans any inscription. They are without any inscription. Yet, one thing is very good about them, that they reach across the viewer and deliver their story all too well, nevertheless. And it is often in a very simple and straightforward manner. So, going towards Virgar, hero stones, as the name suggests, are memorial stones commemorating the valor of a fallen hero for posterity as well as the local populace. So, as per some scholars, the stones were issued all over India from 3rd century BC, but a large concentration is issued between 5th and 13th century AD. It is the more common in the southern region of India. These stones locally are known by various names such as Natukals or Nadukals, Pariyas, Kirti Sambas or Chaya Stambas, Devdis, etc., along with Veeragalu or Veeragals, ranging through typified depictions to artistically depicting royalties. These stones continue to be erected till around early 18th century AD with folk or tribal elements attached to it. The idea is that, as per many ancient scriptures, such as the Rig Veda and epics such as Mahabharata, the best kind of death a warrior could wish for is on the battlefield. That is a heroic death, wherein a Veer Maran is his dharma as a warrior, and one who dies such a death is equated with Indra and will attain Swarga. Gunter Santheimer has done some seminal work on that. His book, Memorial Stones, is one amazing read. I would recommend it to all. So, hero stones, as seen on the screen, this first one is from Parel, Baradevi area in Mumbai, and this one is from Paradi Vaijnath in Satara. They are generally 3-paneled, as you can see on screen. The lowermost panel depicts the fight of the depicts the fight scenes such as a war, skirmish, battle, fight with animals. There are famous hero stones, Virgas, in Borivali in Exar, which depict naval battles. Also, some of the Virgas depict religious suicide. Now, one interesting thing about these Virga here is, if you can see this image, this shows a woman warrior. Okay. The next panel depicts the death of the hero and his ascension to heaven, and he's accompanied, is flanked on either side by celestial maidens, that is Apsaras. If you can see this one, you can see he is being flanked by Apsaras. The next panel depicts him worshipping Shivlinga, thus signifying that he has reached Kailash. And this Shivlinga, presence of Shivlinga, reflects perhaps the popular faith of the time, or the faith of the person who is erecting these stones. There may also be an ascetic or goddess instead of Shivlinga that is shown. And at the top, usually there is a sun and moon, which denotes perpetuity, and a kalash in the form of a sacred pot or a temple spire to denote the sanctity of erecting the steles. Going forward, this is a Gaivastra stone. It is again from the area of Paradevi, Parel area of Mumbai. It is, as per the image, it's called as Savatsadenu, wherein a cow is shown with a suckling calf. Now, these stones are usually two-paneled, with one inset showing the cow and the calf with a pot-like structure in front of her, or a manga-like structure. Okay, and the second upper panel usually has a sun and moon with or without a kalash. The one that I have shown here is incomplete in its execution. So, as per Dr. Vivi Mirashi, the cow represents the grant that is given by the king or the king himself, and calf is his doni or the people of his kingdom, with the manga probably representing the grant amount or the tax or some such revenue that is required for the welfare of the kingdom. Now, as for some scholars, these are considered as grand stones and boundary markers. Going forward to Sati stones. So the word Sati basically means pure or chaste woman. These stones were erected as memorials of woman who emulates herself on the funeral pyre of her husband. Many trace this practice back and the name to the mythological story of Shiva and Sati, wherein Sati immolated herself, or to Sita, who gave the Agni Pariksha to prove her chastity. Now, Sati stones were erected for wives of fallen heroes, as well as those who emulated themselves on their husband's funeral pyre. Hence, we have composite hero Sati stones also, showing a fallen hero and his wife going Sati for him. These stones usually have three panels. Lowermost shows the woman holding the corpse of her husband, if you can see here, even here also. Okay, and the middle basically shows her riding her horse or standing with her hands raised. If you can see here, she's shown as riding the horse or standing with her hands raised. And she's also sometimes accompanied with a procession. The last panel shows her reaching heaven, mostly depicted as Kailash, and she's almost always shown with her husband there. Many a times the usual sun moon Kalash panel is also shown, but the major marker of this steles, however, is a hand shown with bangles on the wrist raised at a right angle in blessing. And this divides the two panels. If you can see here, you can see this hand. Even here, it's broken off. This is another hand. So this is dividing these two panels. Then again, this is the hand here. So this is like the major and most important marker of a Sati stone. So this steles were so in vogue that many a times only this hand is shown with one scene or just with a couple. So you know that this is a Sati stone. Now coming to the main subject of our talk today, that is the Gadhegals. Now, this Gadhegal here is Gadhegal erected by Shilahara Someshwar Dev, which is issued in 1259 AD, and it is from Ranwar village in Uran near Panvel. It is one of the two that is issued from the village of Ranwar. The other is of Hambir Rao, and it is currently in a village temple there. This one is in the safekeeping of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Vastu Sangrahalaya in Mumbai. Now, if you look closely at this, you can see that the donkey has a collar on it. I'll explain about this further when I talk about it. Now, this image basically represents how an ascus looks like. I'll be explaining the typology further. So, before that, let us just start with the nomenclature. It is known as Gadhegal, translating as donkey stone. Like Gadhegal is basically wherein Gadhe means donkey and Gar, excuse me, wherein Gadhe means donkey and Gar means stone, or as Gadhegal, that is ascus, wherein Gadhe means donkey again, and Gar is Gari, that is curses, or Shivi in Marathi, example, Shivi Gari Karne, that is to curse at someone. In this case, with the use of a donkey, hence ascus. So, what exactly are these ascus steles? So, the steles are unique type of grant inscriptions or which have law edicts inscribed on them and have a graphic panel along with the inscription panel which depicts the curse inscribed, that is given in the inscription, that is written in the inscription. It is due to the presence of such an inscription which contains the written curse and the graphic panel that shows this curse, okay, in a sculptural form is the reason that they are so called. The curse that I'm talking about is Tayatse maaye gadhave zhavije. That is, the miscreant's mother will be copulated with a donkey. The curse is almost always in Marathi, though the inscription may change from Sanskrit, composite Sanskrit Marathi, or to Marathi. So the curse is directed at the miscreants or lawbreakers who might create issues for the beneficiary of the grant or law and thus serve as a direct warning to them. Each one of us here knows that religious iconography is mostly defined and follows a set guidelines of Shilpa Shastras and such religious and iconographic texts. It is through this defined typologies that we identify the various forms of our gods and goddesses. For example, Shiva becomes a Bhikshatana Shiva due to the presence of a bell and his Urdhvalinga, that is upright pence. Or he becomes a ferocious Bhairav because the presence of fangs on him and a dog that accompanies him. The ascurses to follow a nearly defined typology when erecting, which is a practice which is perhaps only second to such religious iconography. It does follow set guidelines, though we do have variations, just like religious sculptures. This is an amazing aspect of the steles that they follow such an iconography when it is not written or prescribed anywhere in any text. These stones were issued first as studied during my research by a dynasty called the Shilaharas in Maharashtra around 10th, 11th century AD. They were issued well into the 15th, 16th century in the reign of Muslim rulers. Thus, considering this long time span of erecting the steles, the stones, it is amazing how this set pattern, this set guidelines was followed for such a long time through this 4-5 dynasties, well into the period of the Muslim rulers. Now, one of the most important fact of the stones is that drawing a curse in a graphic display, as is written in the inscription, is something that is observed for the first time in case of such inscriptions, such grand stones, or some such curse stones. Thus, the express purpose of issuing the stones is not only to record the grant or law, but to also serve as a written and visual warning in a very innovative way. So, as I said that there is a nearly defined typology, the word nearly, because though there is a general typology, it wasn't strictly adhered to by the issuers. And also there are lots of variations. I'll explain in short, starting with the general typology. The chart that I have given here It basically explains the types and subtypes that are found in the corpus of as curses. Just to be clear, this is based off of my study of nearly 150 plus odd as curses from Maharashtra and outside of Maharashtra. Now, talking about variations, one of the most amazing fact is that I discovered during the course of my research on this topic, that as curses are not just limited to Maharashtra, but are a rather pan-Indian phenomenon. I will of course show you to them further in the talk. So talking about the general typology as such, these are basically, I'll just go back to the screen. Okay. So if you see this, these are generally 3 panels, inclusive of 2 pictorial panels and 1 inscriptional panel. So of the 2 graphics, one is the sun and moon panel with the kalasha, either shown in the form of a temple spire or a Purna Ghata or Mangal Kalash. And the other is that of the graphic representation of the curse. Now, order of the panels is usually color sun moon panel as shown here on the screen, inscription panel and graphic panel, though the inscription panel and the graphic panels are interchangeable. Like sometimes this image comes here and inscription is written down. So the color sun moon panel, this panel has a sun represented by a circular disc and moon represented by a crescent like this, or sometimes there is a circular disc and this crescent shape is carved into it to represent the moon. The sun and moon, both celestial bodies, represent eternity, Yavata Chandra Divakaro, which basically translates that till there is the sun, Divakar and moon, that is Chandra, this will remain. Whatever is written will remain. The sun, that is Pusha, this signifies one who gives life to the earth, as mentioned in the Atharva Shirsha Shanti Mantra, and moon signifies growth, which is a constant. Thus, this in entirety denotes that this information will hold true till sun and moon exist. There is a kalsha above there at the summit, which represents sanctity. Here, the kalsha is either denoted in the shape of a temple spire or a Purna Ghata. Sometimes it is absent too. I'll be showing you the images of the same. There is sometimes an ascetic or a religious entity, such as a Ganpati, or sometimes like such object, like a Shivalinga in the gap between the sun and moon. Else, a short descriptive, mostly religious scenes panel is shown in this space, is depicted in this space. It probably denotes the religious affiliation of the issuer or simply the continuity of tradition with regards to invocation to the shown deities. However, the percentage of this is quite small as compared to those with only sun and moon panel. Also, there aren't any markers to point to some other plausible theories of yet. So, thus it probably does denote the religious affinity of the issuer. Coming to the inscription panel, it usually starts with an invocation to a deity, mostly with the words Swasti Shri. It usually gives the genealogy of the ruler, issuer, and eulogies them with great epithets. It also many a times gives information about the regions under the rule of the issuer or his liege's territory or sometimes the vassalage. Then it mentions the details of the grant given, like to whom, how much, where, when, etc. The ascus accompanies these details. However, many a times there's also a line that praises the person before the curse who follows the edict. It mentions Zoye Paru Tayasa Dharmu. Sometimes instead of just one ascus, there is a string of curse. The most common of which states that the miscreant will be born as a pinworm in feces for millions of years. In Sanskrit, that is Shashti Varsha Shahasrani Vishtayam Jayate Krumi. In some cases, it states that the mother will be made to copulate with a horse along with the donkey, Gadhegals Of Maharashtra. Thus, it is not limited to the woman being subjected to violation by a donkey, but a horse also. And sometimes this is the only curse inscribed, and the ascus is absent in the inscription. Like only the pinworm curse is there, and ascus is absent in this inscription. Also, there is another variation which states that the person himself is a donkey, or that his wife will be made to copulate with a donkey. Thus, there are several permutation combinations that are observed in the curses inscribed, which form an important part while defining the typology of these curses. The graphic panel, as seen, depicts the curse scene described in the inscription in Toto. This is exactly one of the reasons why the steles are such unique phenomenon. Uh, there were grand stones, copper plates issued before the advent of Asper steles. However, the characteristic attribute of graphic representation of the curse is introduced only in the stones. There are certain theories leading to its understanding as to why and how this came to it. So I'll be talking about them later. However, these steles without the graphic representation also, it's either absent or have some other scene depicted or just show a donkey. So the typology as such is further extended based on the many inter and intra-regional variations, as you can see on the screen, that is observed during the course of my research. There are instances of intrusive depictions also, composite depictions, and sometimes there were even additions to the list of verses, which were graphically displayed. So I'll show you. Now this is with different types of kalasha. If you can see, the first one shows a Purana Ghata. The next one shows temple spire. This again shows the temple spire, and if you can see, this is divide of any inscription. This is from Masra, and this one is at the British Museum. And if you can see that there is no kalasha present. Okay, all of these are from Raigad. Now this is Asker's inscription, showing only a donkey with or without the inscription. As you can see, there's an inscription here and there is no inscription here. Now this here, the one on the right, is from Paushi in Sindhudurga, and there is an entire ritual that surrounds this tomb. I'll be explaining about it when I talk about the public perception of this series. So this is the Askars, which is only in an inscription form. These are the different types of Askars that we observe in Maharashtra. The first one shows the like the curse is inscribed in the inscription. There is no image as such, but there is a covered bearer instead. Then this is from Kolhapur, and this basically is a part of a temple. So Askars, as I said, were not mostly standalone, but sometimes they were also carved on temple walls or temple pillars. And this is from Tulzapur. Here, instead of the usual sun moon kalash, it is shown like two animals are fighting each other. Now this is outside of Maharashtra. This is from Rajbheta, and this one is from Goa. And if you can see here, there's a camel shown, and the donkey is mounting a female pig, a sow. Now this is outside of India. These two are currently in the British Museum. Both belong to Shilahara Haripal Deva and belong to 1154 AD, somewhere from North Konkan area. And this one sadly is sort of lost. It was in Jogeshwari caves, and now it has been taken by the Portuguese to Sintra in Portugal. We do not know. I tried to trace it, but sadly I could not trace it, like where it is. The last place I knew that it was somewhere in Sintra, in the gardens of Sintra. So as I said, there are composite Askars also. So here you can see it is shown with, as they are both considered to be grand stones. Here you see the curse basically, and here you see the Savatsadhenu also, that is inscribed in an inset. Now here on this one, which is from Goa, you can see the usual Askars, and this is another Askar. This is another type of curse, which is one of the Pancha Mahapatakas of killing a cow, wherein a Brahman is seen as killing a cow here. Okay. So Askars rule is issued by Muslim rulers. The first one is from Satara, and this one is from the famous Gadhegals. Now you can see that usually in case of Muslim iconography, showing images is haram. But here if you can see that there was a depiction of an Asgars, but it has been taken off. It has been destroyed later on. Okay, and this is one of the few dual-sided Asgars steles. There is no temple spire here, but there is Jab Tak Suraj Chand Rahega mentioned in this. And the curse differs between the Marathi, wherein here it mentions the Marathi curse, the as curse, and here it mentions, instead of the as curse, it mentions that the miscreant will will be black faced and will have to face the prophets. So this is the only one instance, and it's a exception, a very important one, in the corpus of Ascurs. These are the Jaitra Samanta issued copper plates, popularly known as Jalgaon Tamrapat. They are dated to 1202 AD, and it has an Ascurs in Marathi, which states one who does not follow will be a Shwan, that is a dog, Gadharva, that is a donkey, and a Chandala, that is a Shudra caste, considered as one of the lowest and abhorrent as per Varna Sankara tests. Now, this is this is probably the only known instance of a copper plate having a ascus in Maharashtra till date. Now, going further, excuse me. Let us talk about the public perception. Now, these stones are usually considered to be vulgar because of the imagery or evil. So the word perception originates from the Latin word percipere, which means to seize, to understand. So perception basically means a way in which a viewer regards, understands, and interprets something. So with regards to Ascurs steles, it is an important and interesting aspect. So what I'm talking about is how the stones are perceived in modern day through the imagination of the people in whose vicinity they are found. The present perception is closely related to the graphic panel, which shows a donkey and a woman in sexual congress or just a donkey. Depending on this, the way the stones are interpreted can be both benign and or malignant. In case of the benign perceptions, these steles are worshipped as or associated or converted to gods and goddesses and are then given offerings smeared with vermilion and washed vigorously. Now, this too causes destruction through weathering and loss of inscription and such details. So, two things to understand that usually when changing them, they are given a female identity most of the times. And second is that these stones are usually converted to something that people can relate to. So the malignant aspect is basically the fear or abhorrence people have when they see these. The image thus leading to destruction, defacement of the steles, or they are buried in the ground or simply ignored through apathy. They are considered vulgar and evil, and it is interesting, though, as I'll show, how this basic principles of justice being met is still something that people who view them associate the stones with, either in a good way or in a bad way. So the first image that you can see here is from Gorai and is called as Brahmande. Women basically during festivals do a puja here, and they offer coconut and incense and everything during Purnimas and Amavasyas to it. Then the second one is from Pimpalwadi, Girgaon, from Mumbai, and it is considered as Jagewala Baba, that is a god who protects that specific place where it is from. Then the third image is from Dombivli, and this is also one of very interesting ones, wherein it is worshipped as a Shani Dev. It has its own small temple, and people offer flowers, oil, and oil lamps there, as is given to Shani. Now, this image here is from a local temple in Chirnel, near Panvel. This is converted into a Parvati, goddess Parvati, wherein the Kalash here is given two eyes. Okay, and the sun and moon are rounded off and made into two breasts. And here, the second image here, it's a new find by me, and it was used as a washing board under municipality tap in Bhiwandi. So though I spoke to the owners about it, they simply were not concerned. Now the third image is a rediscovery following the Bombay presidency gadget. It's from Alibag, and it is considered as a shepherd god who protects cattle. People place small pebbles in front of it with flowers to offer prayers, and if you don't do that, it's considered a bad omen. This theme of shepherd god is observed with quite a few places. The fourth image is from Karzat. The stone was broken by a drunkard, saying that it's evil and has cursed him, due to which his life was turning bad. I mean, rather than thinking that it's because of his own drunken self, he blamed something else for this. Now, other than Parvati, we also have an ascus, a very interesting ascus from Pune, which is converted to Ganpati, wherein the poor donkey is reduced to a mouse. An ascus in Raigad was also offered a male buffalo as bari because it was considered to be Masoba Dev, till the practice was stopped by the government from Raigad. Now, as you can see that whenever we ask, so what do you think that I asked the pujari of this temple in Chirner, so what exactly is this donkey doing here to the woman? So what he said was basically he's punishing the woman because she's a kulta, she's a promiscuous lady. And this theme is quite common whenever they're converted into a god or a goddess form. So this stele is here, if you can see, that were buried because they were considered to be evil, vulgar. Like in first case, this stone here, it was considered to be the stone of a kulta, a promiscuous lady who enchants newly wedded girls. They offered gajras and bangles to appease her. Thankfully, the owner, a sweet young old lady, Modak Kaku, has now educated people around her and kept the stone on display at her home in Chaul, Alibag. Now, this other stone was simply buried as was considered something to do with black magic. So only after speaking to the owners and showing them other stones, I was able to excavate it. But sadly, they buried it again. So this two example shows how people can have two extreme reactions to these stones, even after educating them. So this is one of the examples of an intrusive ascus. So you can see here, the image is drawn at the expense of the inscription. It is a letter edition, of course, but it is here. This image is given more importance instead of the inscription. Okay, there are quite a few examples of these. So as we go through the ascus issued over time, the well-made ascurses stones are later many times made in bit of a coarser manner. So many a times only the image of the curse is given, divide of any inscriptions. This coupled with how we have intrusive images reflect the importance attached to the imagery. They sort of become like signatures, wherein people just look at it and know, okay, what this is about, what it is about. So talking about theories and discussions, as the stones are considered vulgar, they were always reported as inscriptions or simply reported if there are no inscription as the stones. So there has been lots of work right now of reporting been done by people like Kolte, Mirashi, Tulpule, Dhopte, then Dhanavade, Dalal, by myself, and many more. So, however, no study was ever attempted to understand and conceptualize them. However, Sri R.C. Dhere, an eminent scholar, has done the seminal work of conceptualizing it. He equates the scene with Mother Earth becoming barren due to her being plowed using a donkey instead of a bull, wherein the woman is Mother Earth and the act of copulation is basically plowing of the field. Now, this theory is very brilliant and is well argued by Teresa. However, it is based on a homogeneous data of only 13 ascurses with same typical image throughout, like the three-paneled ones. It does not explain the cases where the man or his wife will be copulated with a donkey or a horse. The man is cursed to be a donkey, a dog or a chandar, like in the Chaitra Samanta plates, or when here's as shown in the images, donkey is mounting donkey is mounting a Jenny, that is a female donkey, or else donkey is mounting a female pig. So this depictions and curses that I showed earlier also of the Pancha Mahapatika, Go Hatya and all, it does not explain it. So I'm conceptualizing this based on the 150 plus heterogeneous set of data that I have, as you have seen through the images till now, and that I have as a part of my thesis, and hope to present it in front of everyone soon. So moving forward, we have, there are many different aspects and information that we gather from this. So talking about the evolution in different curses. Now in case of grand stones, not just limited to India, a curse is almost always a part of the inscription. In Indian scenario, especially Maharashtra, the as curses have other curses too, than the one after which it is named. Like the one which was found earlier to as curses is the one that I said, Sashti Varshe Shastrani Vishayam Jayate Krumi. And that is, I curse you to be born as twin worms in feasts for millions of years. Or the other one, that is of the Mahapatakas, wherein a Brahmin is shown as killing a cow, thus doing Gohatya. So these different curses also form one of the reasons to re-evaluate Sri Devi's theory. Then we have the use of Marathi language. As I said earlier, the curses were almost always in Marathi, even though the inscription may have been in Sanskrit or Sanskrit Marathi composite, and in some cases in Arabic or like some other languages. Especially coming down to the Yadva period, Marathi was sort of a lingua franca of the masses also. So this also means that coupled with the imagery for the illiterates, use of Marathi for curse was meant for the masses and not for the elites. Then we have position of women and association of rituals to it. Through the literature of the times, such as the Smritis, Dharma Shastras, Shauta Sutras, and the historical and political accounts of the time, we know the position of women had degraded considerably. Age of marriage had reduced, women were denied upnayana, they were denied education, and even ancestry or proprietary rights, property rights. They were considered more as a property themselves, to which chastity was attached. So in case of as curses, if a woman's chastity is soiled, compromised, the worth and position of the person to whose house she belongs reduces considerably. As for rituals, it is possible to view the theory of woman being Mother Earth if we talk about Ashwamedha and Rajasurya Yajna, wherein the queen consort is made to figuratively copulate with a horse, which represents virility and royalty. Then, but there is a problem, as I'll tell you, with the use of donkey and his collar. So now, if you remember the very first image that I showed, the donkey had a collar. This is observed in many instances and points towards domestication or keeping of the donkey for certain purposes. Now, if it was for the purpose of the curse, in case of a woman, we do not know, as there's no written record of as such. But we do have the Kharavela Hathigumpa inscription of 150 to 200 BC, wherein Kharavela uses a donkey to plow an evil king's market. Okay. Then we have the word zhavije, idioms, and curses associated with the donkey. The word zhavije is still used in modern Marathi as the word zhavane, a very crude way of stating sexual copulation or simply saying fuck you. So we have various curses and idioms associated with the donkey. Now, basically, this stubborn, intelligent animal was reduced to ridicule due to his appearance, the way he sounds, and the habit of being around dumpsters. So we still use many idioms when using donkey, like Gadhavana Brahmachari, Gadhave gele ani Brahmacharya gele. That is neither of good heart or character and having no gain either way because they are stupid. Or Gadhava sarke oradne. Or else Gadhavi Prem, that is to love in an unruly fashion. So now all of these above point towards the unruly behavior of a donkey. And now, as per Sindhu Dange man, in Vedic literature, donkey is given an epithet Dviretas, which in a good way points to virility and in a bad way to overindulgence in sex. It is known fact among breeders and village folk that donkey copulation takes anywhere nearly 30 minutes and is a really unruly and painful process. The reason I'm talking about this is because this comes in connection of a ritual called as Gadhave. So that is a person who had vowed to live a life as a celibate person couldn't do so, and hence to repent has to perform this ritual, wherein he offers, that is, he sacrifices a donkey to goddess Niritti, that is the goddess of death, decay, and sorrow. So, in a way, this may be connected. This phenomena may be related to why a donkey is used in the ass curses. Then we have the continuum of tradition, basically use of Swasti Shri, Mangal Kalash, and the practice of Hatavarun Pani Sodne, which is mentioned in the when giving the grant in the inscription. So we still use this invocation of Swasti Shri or Right Shri whenever we start something new, as it is considered auspicious. The Ascus inscriptions also start with this almost always. We also use Mangal Kalash to denote sanctity of any rituals we perform. Mangal Kalash basically means a pot with water on which there are leaves of a mango tree with a coconut on top of it. Now, as for temples fire, there's a common belief among old people that if you can't visit a temple, watching the temple's fire itself is sanctimonious enough. Now, whenever we donate something, even in Kanyadan, we do this Hatavarun Pani Sodne, that is washing your hands off it, which basically means that this object, now understand this, that a woman is considered as object, in totality belongs to the donee and donor has no rights to it anymore. So this leads us to the second point, the next point, that is Agrahara and feudalism. Now, Agrahara were basically types of grants. So the ass curses, as states in the washing hands off of something with the water is mentioned in them, and that's why it makes them a type of Agrahara grant, which means that even the king doesn't have any right to not only the land but also the people of it belong to the donee now that he has donated to. Now, this further led to feudalism, the practice of feudalism, rise of feudalism, and the Khoti system. Then we have the numismatic evidence. Numismatics is a study of coin and currency system. So the Ascus inscription mentioned different weight standards that we still use today, especially in villages like Paili, then or Paili, and also it mentions coins such as Dramma and Gadyana. It also mentions Poruti Dramma, which basically is coinage based on Parthian drachma standards. So connections, trade relations with different countries, or them coming here and issuing their types of coins. So Parthian basically is of Iranian origin, and drachma is the Greek coin standard, which is approximately 4.5 grams. So we also get information about surnames and place names. Now, surnames such as Mhatre comes from the Mahataras that are mentioned in the inscriptions. Basically, Mahataras are mentioned to be the witnesses to a grant that is given. Then also place names such as village names of Ranwad, then temples such as Kalkaburwa or Tulzapur Idol, and the fair that was yearly fair for Tulzapur Mandir, etc. Some of the data that we can obtain from this inscription. And this basically takes back the antiquity of the places to that period. Okay. So impact of agricultural and trade. Excuse me. So most of the SAS curses are issued in places of trade routes, agriculturally rich places or seats of power, thus less towards inland. Now, the best examples are Kolhapur and Divyagar. Now, Kolhapur, the seat of power of Shilaharas, has more than 7 as curses. Divyagar, the ancient part of Deepak Rama, has nearly 5 as curses alone in that comparatively small village. Now, this slide is very important. Why I'll tell you, because it contains one of the earliest Marathi inscriptions, popular as the Akshita Shilale. Also, people always confuse between the two as curses that there are. So the one on the right here, this is of Shilahara Keshi Deva II, which is dated to 112 or 1209 AD. There is a date discrepancy debate about it, which I'm not going to discuss it because it will take again time, lots of time. And it is considered to be the one of the oldest Marathi inscription. It is also important as it gives the engraver's name on it. That is Lunaya Katsli. It records the grant given of grains to the goddess of the temple. This ascus is near the Kalka Burwa temple. And the second one, this one here on the left, is of Yadav Ramchandra Deva, dated to 1291 AD, and is located on the left of the Someshwara temple when you enter the Akshi village. It records the grant of one Gadhyana to the priest of Kalkapurva temple, and the curse mentions that his mother will be copulated with a donkey as well as a horse. So basically what happens is people think that this is the oldest, as this is the one that contains the oldest Marathi or the oldest Marathi inscription, but actually it is this one. So I just wanted to clear this confusion. So the next time someone says that, okay, it confuses this, you guys can always, tell them that, no, this one is the oldest one. So with this, I conclude my talk. And I would like to thank Khaki Talks for providing this opportunity to showcase my research here. Thank you, Amrita, and every person at Khaki family for helping me. Also, thank you all for being so patient with me. Thank you, Adil Desai, for your encouragement. Then I have to thank everyone from my college, my guides, Dr. Shrikant Garve, Dr. Abhijit Dandekar. I also thank my professors from there. And I want to thank Dr. A.P. Samkherkar, Dr. Kuresh Dalal, Mrs. Mugdha Karnik, Samuel Nazaret and staff at CMS, University of Mumbai. Also Dr. Suraj Pandit, Dr. Prachi Mughe, Dr. Dilip Rajkot, Dr. Kumad Kanitkar ma'am, Nilmana Kulkarni ma'am, Madhvi Kulatkar ma'am for helping me throughout my course of research. I thank Dr. Tejas Garge for always helping me and guiding me as well as encouraging me. And I have to thank his staff too for being ever helpful, especially the museum staff. I thank all the institutions, museum directors, heads, staffs, etc., who helped me. And I thank the Ratan Tata Trust for financing a project towards my field work. I thank Mr. Abdulaziz Rajput for deciphering the Arabic and Persian inscriptions for my work. And of course, my parents, my family, my friends, my seniors, as well as juniors who always helped me. Now, I cannot possibly thank the n number of people, officials, and villagers who helped me throughout this long journey, but I sincerely thank them all. So any questions, suggestions, constructive criticism, everything is welcome.
Thank you, Harshada. That was really interesting and in a lot of detail. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, I've got a couple of questions from the audience. The first one is, what were the reasons of curse? Just Gohatya or any others also?
Reasons, of course. No,
yes.
The reason is basically that suppose like whatever a donor, see that period there was lots of societal issues that were happening, lots of thievery, there are invasions and everything that was happening during that time. So the reason for issuing this is so that no one invades on the rights of the donee. And that's why these curses were also given in a visual format to emphasize the curse that is mentioned. Also, there was illiteracy to much extent, I should say. So the curse is always in the lingua franca of the time. So in Marathi, that's the reason the curse comes in Marathi, even though the inscription itself is in Sanskrit or composed in Marathi Sanskrit. Okay, and that's why to emphasize that curse, it's also given a graphic panel is also given. It is also shown in a graphic way.
Right. Okay, there's one more question. After the Shilahara dynasty, which other rulers or dynasties issued these grants or accepted Ascus relics as grant?
Okay, there is no acceptance of Ascus relics as grants because they were basically the grants itself. Only instead of giving it in a copper plate, these were inscribed Okay, the grant details were inscribed on
Right.
this stone, and they were placed as boundary markers from where it is issued. So most of this as curses we find in front of temples that they were given the grant to, or in front of farms. Okay,
Mhm.
and these are places where usually these are found, in front of temples or in farms. Okay, or in orchards of people. Like you can see around 40% are found near temples, around 30% in orchards and farms, and others are just misplaced or destroyed or thrown away. Okay, so just hold on. Let me just go back to that question. So after Shilahara dynasty, we have Yadava, we have Kadambas, we also have Vijayanagar Sangamas issuing, and we have from Adil Shahi period also that these were issued.
Hmm.
Any other
Okay,
questions?
there are a couple of questions coming about the Gadhegal. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that properly.
Gadhegal, right?
Yeah, so the Gadhegal is where would that be kept? Where exactly is the shepherd god?
It's at Kunkeshwar.
Okay, and was also available in Mumbai?
Yes, there are lots of ascurses available in Mumbai. Like we have at least 10 ascurses from Mumbai itself. And in CSMVS, there are 3 that are kept outside, and at least 10 that I know of that are inside in the safekeeping.
Okay, and would you know which is the largest in India?
Largest as in what?
The largest size of these Gadhegals found in India?
Maharashtra.
Okay.
Maharashtra has lots of ascurses that are issued.
And in terms of just actual size, would you know how large any of these are?
Usually they are around 3 feet, 3
Okay.
by 2, usually 3 by 2. Those are
Okay.
size varies, but the largest one that I have seen was around 4 feet, which is in Bijapur.
Okay. And one more question about it. The Gadhegal ownership of land was followed by subsequent rulers?
Gadhegal ownership.
Yes.
Yes. No, the rulers were like, they, as I said, they washed off their hands that once this land is given to the donee, not even
Yes.
their officers could go and collect anything from that land. Like the
Right.
people who were there belonged to the donee himself. So that is how,
Right.
feudalism came in. And what we know as the Khoti system in Maharashtra came in.
Okay. Adil is clarifying he wanted to know the largest in size of the
Yes,
stone, which is what I
4
thought
feet,
I
as I
asked.
said, Bijapur.
Yeah.
Bijapur. It's around 4 feet.
Yeah. Okay,
Achha,
that's it for the. Sorry,
just
yes.
sorry. Gauri also asks, like, I keep visiting Alibag as that is my hometown. I would say that in Alibag, there are many places where you can find Gadhegals. One is at Navedar Beli. We have one at Chaul. Then there is one interesting askers at, I'll give the name afterwards, which is considered as Masoba that I told about. Okay, Varsoli. It's at Varsoli near the Bhavani temple. It is painted white and orange, and it has its own niche.
Okay. I think that's it for the. Yes, I think someone has just agreed that it's in Varsoli. I think lots of people have given many thanks for this presentation, and it's really been very, very interesting. So, okay, sorry. I'm just one more thing may have come in.
Yes, yes. And my next plan is to record Gadhegals from Palghar because that district is still remaining. I mean, there are so many Gadhegals that I have to visit. I have visited at least 15 districts till now. So Palghar is on my list. I'll be certainly contacted you, Gauri. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, I mean, thank you very much again from Khaki. It was a pleasure to have you on, and it was a really lovely and detailed, very detailed presentation. Thank you everybody for joining in today, and please look out for our talks in subsequent weeks as well, and do join in. Thank you very much.
Khaki, and thank you everyone for listening. Thank you.